Thomas sat in his car outside his house, unable to go inside. His wife had just told him she'd lost respect for him. Not in anger, not in a fight, just a calm, devastating statement. I don't respect you anymore. He'd spent the last 5 years being what he thought was a good husband, agreeable, accommodating, saying yes to everything, avoiding conflict at all costs, putting everyone else's needs before his own. He thought he was being selfless. She saw him as spineless. His boss didn't respect him either. He'd been passed over for promotion 3 times, given the same excuse each time. You're a great team player, but we need someone with more presence. His friends had slowly stopped calling. They'd invite him out, but he'd always cancel last minute. Sorry, man, wife needs me to do something. Eventually, they stopped asking. Even his kids seemed to sense something was off. His teenage son had started going to his uncle for advice instead of him. When Thomas asked why, his son said, "Uncle might just, I don't know, he seems more like a man, you know?" Thomas wasn't a bad person. He was kind, hardworking, responsible, but he'd become weak. Not physically, though he'd gained 40 pounds, but weak in ways that matter more. Weak in character, weak in conviction, weak in the core principles that make a man respected. That night in his car, Thomas asked himself, when did I stop being a man people looked up to? And more importantly, how do I become that man again? What Thomas discovered changed everything. He learned that strong men, truly respected men, don't just wing it through life. They live by a code, a set of non-negotiable laws that govern their decisions, their behavior, their very identity. Today, I'm going to share those 7 laws with you. These aren't suggestions, they're not guidelines, they're laws. And if you want to be a man who commands respect, who leads with strength, who people naturally follow, you need to live by them every single day. Introduction. Welcome to Strong Male Figure, where we don't just talk about strength, we build it. If you're tired of being overlooked, disrespected, and feeling like you're not living up to your potential, you're in exactly the right place. Smash that subscribe button right now. We're building a brotherhood of men who refuse to be weak, who understand that respect is earned through how you live, not through what you demand. These 7 laws aren't complicated, but they're hard. They require sacrifice. They require discipline. They require you to go against the grain of what modern culture tells you to be. But if you can live by these laws consistently, you'll transform into a man people respect, trust, and want to follow. Let's get into it. Law number 1. Never abandon your mission for anyone. The first law every strong man lives by: never abandon your mission for anyone. This was Thomas's first mistake. The moment he got married, he abandoned every personal goal he had. His business idea? Maybe later. His fitness goals? Too busy. His personal growth? Not a priority right now. He thought he was being a good husband by making his wife his entire mission. But here's what he didn't understand. A man without a mission is a man without purpose, and a man without purpose is not attractive. Not to his wife, not to his boss, not to anyone. Strong men understand this. Your mission is not your wife, your kids, or your job. Your mission is who you're becoming. Your mission is the legacy you're building. Your mission is the impact you're making on this world. Your relationships, your career, your responsibilities, these are important, but they're part of your life, not a replacement for your life. When you abandon your mission for someone, you don't just lose yourself, you lose their respect. Because deep down, everyone knows that a man who'll abandon his purpose for them will abandon his principles too. Thomas learned this the hard way. He gave up everything to make his wife happy, and, ironically, it made her unhappy. Because she didn't want a servant. She wanted a man with a spine, a man with direction, a man going somewhere she could join. Your mission comes first, not because you're selfish, but because a man with a clear mission is the only kind of man worth following. So ask yourself, what's your mission? Not your job, not your relationship status, your mission. What are you building? Where are you going? What legacy are you creating? If you can't answer that clearly, that's your first priority, because everything else flows from having a mission. Law number 2, your word is your bond. The second law, your word is your bond. Thomas said yes to everything. I'll be there, I'll do that, I'll get it done. But he rarely followed through. He'd commit to things and then cancel, make promises and then forget, say yes and then disappear. In his mind, he was just being agreeable. In everyone else's mind, he was unreliable. Strong men understand that your word is your most valuable asset. When you say you'll do something, you do it. Period. No excuses, no justifications, no something came up. If you say you'll be somewhere at 7, you're there at 6:55. If you commit to a project, you deliver. If you make a promise to your kid, you keep it. If you tell your wife you'll handle something, you handle it. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being reliable. It's about being a man people can count on. And here's the key. Strong men don't give their word lightly. They don't say yes to everything. They say yes to what they can actually do and no to everything else. Thomas transformed this area by implementing one simple rule. Never say yes immediately. When someone asks for a commitment, he pauses. He considers his schedule, his priorities, his capacity. Then he gives an honest answer. If it's yes, it's a commitment. If it's no, it's final. If it's maybe, he gives a specific time when he'll have an answer. This did something powerful. It made his yes actually mean something. When Thomas committed to something, people knew it would happen. And that rebuilt his reputation faster than anything else. Your word is either worth something or it's worth nothing. There's no in between. Strong men make their word worth everything. Starting today, stop overcommitting. Stop saying yes to things you won't do. Stop making promises you won't keep. Be selective with your commitments. But once you commit, move heaven and earth to follow through. That's how you build trust. That's how you build respect. That's how you become a man people can rely on. Law number 3, protect your physical strength. The third law, protect your physical strength. Thomas had let himself go. 40 pounds overweight, winded walking upstairs. Couldn't play with his kids without getting exhausted. And everyone could see it. His weakness was visible. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Physical weakness signals mental weakness. Fair or not, true or not, that's how humans perceive it. A man who can't control his own body signals he can't control anything else in his life. Strong men understand that physical strength is not vanity, it's responsibility. Your body is the vehicle you use to accomplish your mission. If the vehicle breaks down, the mission fails. You don't need to be a bodybuilder. You don't need six-pack abs. But you need to be strong. You need to be capable. You need to be able to protect your family if needed. You need to have the energy to live the life you want to live. Thomas started with something simple. He committed to training 4 days a week. No excuses. Work emergency? He trained in the morning. Bad weather? He trained anyway. Tired? He trained tired. Within 6 months, he'd lost 35 pounds. But the physical changes weren't even the most important part. The mental changes were. Because every time he didn't want to go to the gym but went anyway, he proved to himself he could do hard things. Every time he hit a new personal record, he built confidence. Every time he chose protein over pizza, he reinforced self-discipline. Physical training isn't just about your body. It's about your mind. It's about proving to yourself every single day that you're the type of man who does what he says he's going to do. And here's what happened. People noticed. His wife started looking at him differently. His boss commented on his energy. His kids wanted to work out with him. Because strength is attractive. Not just physical strength, but the mental strength that physical training builds. Your body is a reflection of your discipline. What does yours say about you? Starting today, commit to 4 days a week of training. Lift weights, do calisthenics, train martial arts. I don't care what it is. Just move heavy things and get uncomfortable. Your body, your mind, and your life will transform. Law number 4. Never seek validation. The 4th law, never seek validation. This was Thomas's deepest wound. Everything he did was to get approval. From his wife, from his boss, from his friends, from strangers on social media. He was addicted to external validation. Did I do good? Are you proud of me? Do you like this? What do you think? Every decision filtered through, will this make people approve of me? And ironically, the more he sought approval, the less respect he got. Strong men understand this paradox. The less you need validation, the more respect you receive. The more you seek approval, the less people value you. Why? Because seeking validation signals insecurity. It says, I don't trust my own judgment. I need you to tell me I'm valuable. And nobody respects that. Strong men validate themselves. They know their worth. They trust their decisions. They don't need anyone's permission to be confident. This doesn't mean you don't listen to feedback. It doesn't mean you're arrogant or closed-minded. It means your sense of worth comes from internal standards, not external opinions. Thomas made a radical shift. He stopped asking for opinions on decisions he'd already researched. He stopped posting on social media seeking validation. He stopped checking if people approved of his choices. He made decisions based on his values, his mission, his judgment. Then he lived with the results, good or bad. This was terrifying at first, but liberating. Because he realized most of the validation he was seeking was worthless anyway. His boss's approval didn't make him more capable. His wife's constant reassurance didn't make him more confident. Social media likes didn't make him more valuable. The only validation that mattered was his own. Did I do my best? Did I honor my values? Did I move toward my mission? Those were the only questions that counted. Here's your challenge. For the next 30 days, stop seeking external validation. Don't ask people if your decision is right. Trust your judgment. Don't post seeking approval. Post to add value. Don't fish for compliments. Know your worth. This will be uncomfortable. You'll feel uncertain. That's the addiction to validation withdrawing. Push through. Because on the other side is something powerful. Self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Law number 5. Embrace conflict when necessary. The 5th law. Embrace conflict when necessary. Thomas avoided conflict at all costs. Someone disrespected him? He let it slide. Someone took advantage of him? He said nothing. His values were violated? He stayed quiet. He thought he was being peaceful, Everyone else thought he was being weak. Strong men understand that avoiding all conflict isn't peace, it's cowardice. Real peace comes from strength, not from weakness. And sometimes, maintaining your integrity requires conflict. This doesn't mean being aggressive. It doesn't mean seeking out fights. It means standing up for yourself and your values when they're violated. Thomas's breakthrough came when his boss tried to take credit for his work in a meeting. Old Thomas would have stayed quiet. New Thomas spoke up. Actually, I led that project. I appreciate the recognition, but I want to make sure the team knows who did the work. Uncomfortable? Yes. Necessary? Absolutely. And his boss respected him more for it. Strong men draw boundaries. They say no. They call out disrespect. They stand their ground when their values are challenged. Not because they're looking for a fight, but because their integrity is non-negotiable. Here's the key. You're not embracing conflict for ego. You're embracing it for principle. There's a difference. Ego says, I need to prove I'm tough. Principle says, this crosses a line I won't accept. Ego picks fights over minor slights. Principle addresses genuine violations of your values. Ego needs to win every argument. Principle needs to maintain integrity. Thomas learned to ask himself, is this worth conflict? Sometimes the answer was no, let minor things go. But when someone violated his core values, disrespected his family, or crossed his boundaries, the answer was yes. And here's what happened. People stopped testing him because they learned he had a backbone. He wasn't easy to push around. He had lines you didn't cross. Ironically, by being willing to engage in conflict, he had less conflict. Because weak men invite disrespect, strong men command boundaries. What boundaries have you let people cross? What disrespect have you tolerated? What values have you compromised to keep the peace? Starting today, draw your lines. Know what you won't tolerate. And when those lines are crossed, address it. Calmly, firmly, but address it. That's what strong men do. Law number 6. Control your emotions. Don't suppress them. The 6th law. Control your emotions. Don't suppress them. Thomas had 2 modes, bottling everything up until he exploded, or breaking down crying when stressed. Neither was strength. Both were weakness, masquerading as different strategies. Strong men understand the difference between emotional control and emotional suppression. Suppression says, I don't feel this. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Control says, I feel this deeply. I'm processing it appropriately. I'm responding wisely. Suppression leads to explosions. Control leads to wisdom. Suppression makes you unpredictable. Control makes you trustworthy. Thomas learned this through a simple practice. Feel it, process it, respond to it, not react to it. When his boss criticized him unfairly, he felt anger. Old Thomas would either explode defensively or say nothing and seethe for weeks. New Thomas acknowledged the anger, took 24 hours to process it, then addressed it professionally. I felt frustrated by your feedback yesterday. I'd like to discuss it so I can understand your perspective better and improve. Same emotion, different response. That's emotional control. Strong men feel deeply. They're not robots. They're not emotionless. But they don't let emotions control their actions. They feel the emotion, Understand what it's telling them, then decide how to respond. Angry? Feel it. Then ask, what is this anger telling me? Is this a boundary violation? Is this triggering past trauma? Is this justified? Then respond accordingly. Sad? Feel it. Process it. Don't numb it with alcohol or distraction. Sit with it. Understand it. Then decide what action, if any, is needed. Afraid? Acknowledge it. Fear is information. What is it warning you about? Is it protecting you from danger or holding you back from growth? Then act accordingly. The strongest men Thomas knew weren't the ones who never felt emotion. They were the ones who felt emotion deeply but responded to it wisely. His teenage son saw this transformation. "Dad, you seem different. Like you don't explode anymore, but you also don't seem fake happy. What changed?" Thomas answered, "I stopped pretending I don't feel things, but I also stopped letting my feelings make my decisions." That's the law. Control your emotions, don't suppress them. Feel everything, react to nothing, respond to everything. Law number 7, build other men up. The 7th and final law, build other men up. This is the law Thomas didn't expect. He thought strength meant standing alone, being self-sufficient, not needing anyone. But the strongest men he encountered did something surprising. They actively built other men up. They mentored younger men. They encouraged their peers. They challenged their friends to be better. They celebrated other men's wins instead of feeling threatened by them. Thomas had been competitive in the worst way. Another man succeeds? Threat. Another man gets promoted? Jealousy. Another man improves? Insecurity. But strong men understand. Another man's strength doesn't diminish yours. In fact, surrounding yourself with strong men makes you stronger. Thomas started doing this intentionally. He mentored a younger guy at work who was struggling. He called his friends to check in instead of waiting for them to reach out. He celebrated his brother-in-law's business success instead of feeling envious. And something unexpected happened. He got stronger, not weaker, stronger. Because when you build others up, you reinforce your own principles. When you mentor someone, you remember what you've learned. When you encourage someone, you strengthen your own resolve. When you celebrate someone's win, you remind yourself that success is abundant, not scarce. Strong men create a culture of strength around them. Weak men tear others down to feel superior. Strong men build others up because they're secure in their own strength. Your son is watching you. Your employees are watching you. Your friends are watching you. Are you building them up or tearing them down? Are you mentoring or competing? Are you encouraging or envying? Thomas's son came to him last month asking for advice. Thomas realized his son was coming to him again, not his uncle, him, because he'd become the kind of man worth learning from. That's the power of this law. When you build others up, you become the kind of man others want to be around, the kind of man they look up to, the kind of man they come to for wisdom. Starting today, find one man to build up. Maybe it's your son. Maybe it's a colleague. Maybe it's a friend who's struggling. Actively encourage him, challenge him, support him, build him up. And watch what happens. You'll become stronger. Because strength that's shared multiplies. Weakness that's shared divides. The transformation. 18 months after that night in his car, Thomas walked into his house. His wife was in the kitchen. She looked at him and smiled, genuinely smiled. in a way she hadn't in years. Your son's been asking when you'll be home. He wants you to look at his college essay before he submits it. His son was asking for his input again. His wife was smiling at him again. But more importantly, Thomas was different. He had a mission he pursued relentlessly. His word meant something. When he committed, it happened. He was physically strong and mentally disciplined. He didn't need anyone's validation to know his worth. He stood up for his values when challenged. He felt his emotions deeply, but responded to them wisely. And he actively built up the men around him. He wasn't perfect. He still made mistakes. He still struggled. But he was living by a code. 7 laws that governed every decision. 7 laws that made him the kind of man people respected. His wife told him a few weeks ago, "I'm proud of you. I'm proud of who you've become. That's the man I married. That's the man I fell in love with." Thomas realized he hadn't become someone new. He'd become who he was always meant to be. He'd just forgotten. And these 7 laws helped him remember. The challenge. Here's your challenge. For the next 90 days, commit to living by these 7 laws. Not perfectly, just intentionally. Week 1 to 2. Define your mission. What are you building? Where are you going? Write it down. Make it clear. Week 3 to 4. Audit your word. Are you overcommitting? Under-delivering? Fix it. Make your yes mean yes, and your no mean no. Week 5 to 8. Commit to physical training. 4 days a week, no excuses. Build your strength. Week 9 to 10. Stop seeking validation. Make decisions based on your values, not others' opinions. Week 11 to 12. Identify one boundary you need to set. Set it. Defend it when necessary. Month 4. Practice emotional control. Feel deeply. Respond wisely. Don't react. Ongoing. Find one man to build up. Mentor him. Encourage him. Support him. Drop a comment below. Which of these 7 laws do you struggle with most? Let's work on it together. These 7 laws aren't just about becoming stronger. They're about becoming the man you're meant to be, the man your family needs you to be, the man your friends respect, the man you see when you look in the mirror with pride instead of shame. They're not easy. Living by a code never is. It requires sacrifice, discipline, relentless commitment. But the alternative is weakness, and weakness costs you everything. Your respect, your relationships, your self-worth, your legacy. Strong men live by laws. Weak men live by moods. Strong men have codes. Weak men have excuses. Strong men build legacies. Weak men waste time. Which one are you going to be? If this video challenged you, hit that subscribe button. Share it with a man who needs to hear it. We're building something powerful here. A brotherhood of men who refuse to be weak, who live by a code, who lead with strength. Next video, the daily habits that separate strong men from everyone else. Don't miss it. Until then, remember, these aren't just laws. This is your code. Live by it and watch everything change.